What's up, everyone? I am the Kaiju no Kami, and today I'm going to take a look at my top 11 Super Sentai series. Why 11, you ask? Well, because there's kind of 44 series to choose from, so I want to go one step above the rest and do an 11. Just so you know, every series on this list has been reviewed, so I'm not going to go into complete details for why I like each series. I just love them because I love them. If you want full details, check out my reviews for each one of them. And do note that my final scores I gave in each review, if you already watched it, does not necessarily reflect the order for this list. So something that got a 5 might not be at the top. Something that got a 4 might be better than something I gave a 5. Then there's a series on this list that I kind of wish I had given a 5 to instead of a 4. But whatever, it is what it is. Let's kick this list off with number 11.
The rare number 11.
You know, I actually wish I kind of had the Gokaiger keys to do the voiceover for that. So, yeah. But whatever the case, I don't know. Let's just jump right into number 11 with Gecko Sentai Gorenger.
Gecko Ranger feels like an oddball Sentai series, as it is the only series of the 2000s on that gave a lot of focus on developing its villains. It wasn't afraid to break the normal Sentai tropes, something Toei became afraid of doing after it. It also helps the show has a strong soundtrack and some wicked fight choreography. If it hadn't been for the lackluster mech and underwhelming development of the heroes, this would have ended up being much higher on the list. Number 10.
Seiju Sentai Gangnam.
Gangnam is a truly fantastic show that, like its Blue Ranger Goki in the beginning, seems to be unsure of itself. The show features an incredible Ranger cast that tragedy occurs to in the first 2 episodes, one of the best Sixth Ranger-esque extra heroes of the franchise, an intriguing execution for the villains, and a superb soundtrack to enhance the experience. Number 9.
Denji Sentai Mega Ranger.
This was a show that did not blow me away on my first viewing. In fact, I initially found it to be a tad subpar. It wasn't until I watched it a second time that I came to realize how brilliant it was. The Ranger cast is pretty stellar and pulls off being high school students quite well. The individual stories are interesting, and I do like the villains, especially with the backstory we get from Dr. Heinlein. Nevertheless, the highlight of the series is without a doubt the Neji Ranger arc, which really excels it above the series that did not make the list. Number 8.
Chojin Sentai Jetman.
Jetman is the series that transformed the storytelling of its heroes by making them feel like actual people. Before Jetman, most Sentai teams were one-dimensional heroes who always got along with each other unless a single plot required it. Giving each member varying personalities and having those personalities clash with the team values was an inspirational idea, as it made them seem like people the audience could relate to. It also helps that the villains are equally well developed and are always at odds with each other. Oh, and there's also Gray.
Need I say more?
Number 7.
It's spelled with 3 R's, but you pronounce it like there's 15 in there. And that is Gecko Sentai Gorenger.
A parody of all that has come before, and what an outstandingly entertaining series it ended up being. Not to mention that some of its plot elements, such as a love story between the Red Ranger and the Femme Fatale, come out far more serious than many of the series over the last decade that are supposed to be serious.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
No matter what episode you watch, you are in for a good time, and I love everyone's personalities and quirks. Hell, where else can you get an episode of the Rangers becoming ingredients for a giant-sized pizza? Number 6.
Shinsei Flashman.
Flashman is the only series of the 80s where I felt the Rangers were more than just cardboard cutouts thanks to their tragic backstory of being taken away from their parents when they were young. Not to mention the plot revelation is revealed in the last act of the show, causing a bittersweet ending. The villains are also pretty badass, with the leader, Radus, being one of my top favorite main villains. Lastly, Flashman has some of the most exceptional camera work of the entire franchise.
The camera work makes it so flashy.
Number 5.
Mirai Sentai Time Ranger.
Time Ranger is an energetic balls-to-the-wall run that pumps your blood with so much energy thanks to it having the greatest opening theme of the franchise. Once you hear that opening music start, you know you are in for a good time. Thankfully, the series has more than just its music to keep you entertained, as the overall plot, the individual stories, its ranger cast, its group of villains, and its action scenes are all absolutely remarkable. It also helps practically every monster of the week and plot are interesting, something that is not always the case with other series. Number 4.
Go 5.
What we have here is a phenomenal series about family. However, what sets this one apart from the other two Sentai series to showcase an entire team of Rangers who are related to each other is the fact that the villains themselves are also a family. I love the Saima clan, and they are easily my favorite villain group out of the show's 45-year span. Watching the Saima feel betrayal is very touching, since it goes above and beyond what you would expect from a set of Toku villains. It also helps that Go Red is the greatest Red Ranger of all time. Number 3.
Kyoru Sentai Dieringer.
Dinosaurs, fantasy, and mythology. Oh hell yes. While Jetman turned its heroes from one-dimensional caricatures into realistic people, Gorenger evolved the franchise's mech designs. Oh, plus it kickstarted the concept of the Sixth Ranger that became a permanent staple with the introduction of Dragon Ranger. It also has a very likable group of villains led by the amazing Machiko Soga's Bandora, and a lot of fascinating monsters of the week.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold. Holy Jesus, where are these goddamn animals?
My only complaint is with its heavy focus on children, though it makes sense once you reach the end of the show and find out why Bandora was always targeting children. Number 2.
Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger.
Kaku Ranger is an odd show as it's broken up into two large arcs. The first arc is meant to be more on the comedic side, while the second arc is more dramatic. As such, you have a truly unique experience that blends together like a perfect pasta dish. Not to mention, it was the only series to not introduce all of its Rangers in the first episode, as it wasn't until episode 3 where everyone was gathered, and then at the start of the second arc, the Rangers have split up and several episodes go by before the team is reunited. In fact, one of the episodes only includes the Red Ranger and no one else. Furthermore, the mecha continues to impress in both design and execution, and Junior, or Gasha Dokuro, is hands down my favorite Sentai villain of all time.
Before going into what is probably a very obvious number one based on how I've always talked about it, let's look at some honorable mentions.
Number 1.
And finally, my favorite Super Sentai series of all time, or thus far, is Gecko Sentai Dieringer.
Not only is it my top favorite Super Sentai series, but it may also be my favorite Toku series of all time. I can turn on any episode and enjoy it to the fullest, even if it is one I have watched 50 times over. Yes, the series does have some tiny kinks in its narrative, but as a whole, you will never find a show that spent most of its time on plot development and character building over just being a single story of the week show. There are only 6 episodes of filler material in its entire run, which is a rarity in a year-long show. It also helps that the show tried to break every Toku trope imaginable, even down to having an episode where our heroes do not transform at all. Add to that top-notch fight choreography, the best mecha in the franchise, an epic soundtrack, and a lovable cast of characters, heroes and villains alike, and you have the be-all, end-all Sentai series.
And those are my top 11 Super Sentai series. I don't think this list is ever going to change anytime soon unless Toei gets their act together and makes something amazingly mind-blowing in the future. I guess it's possible. I just don't see it being feasible given their current state of affairs with Sentai, but you never know. They could surprise us all. Well, that brings an end to my list. What are your top favorite Super Sentai series? Have you seen more than 10? Have you only watched a couple? Whatever the case may be, let me know. Click like, click subscribe, click the bell notification, click whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support me. You can support me on Patreon at Kaiju no Kami, Facebook Kaiju no Kami, Twitter Kaiju no Kami, Instagram Kaiju no Kami, and my website creativitybydesignllc.com. Until next time, bye.
only at Domino's.